Everyone who's joining. Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're at. We'll get started very soon on our webinar, How to Unify Sales and Marketing Once and for All. We have big ambitions, but we have a group of very smart panelists who have a great experience in that space. So we'll talk about sales and marketing misalignment and the effect on overall revenue, the siloed teams, the conflicts in KPIs, the communication breakdowns. The panelists will give you examples of what looks good, some of the red flags that they have seen, some of the challenges that they have had. I will let them introduce themselves. I'll introduce myself first. Johanna Badi, I am the head of demand generation and revenue strategy for SalesIntel. And I have joining me Kelli, Geno, and Rebby will introduce themselves and we'll be the one doing most of the work actually on this webinar. They are the one with a great experience we want to listen to. So Kelli, I'll let you start and introduce yourself if you don't mind.
Yeah, not at all. I'm Kelli Negro, and I currently run the Evisort side of the business within Workday. Workday acquired Evisort back in October, and so I joined Workday as part of that acquisition. And Evisort is a contract intelligence platform, so I work across the AI group also at Workday, and have been in marketing for the last 25 plus years, and have always been a believer that sales and marketing are a singular entity. Without one, the other misses. And so I'm really excited to be here today just to talk about what true unification of sales and marketing looks like to drive revenue and impact.
Thank you, Kelli. Geno, can you introduce yourself, please?
Sure. So my name is Geno Genov. Currently, I am the Vice President of Sales for Cloudstaff for the North American market. We're a global staffing company that focuses on offshore and nearshore resources for US-based companies. We provide resources in 3 countries right now. Philippines, which is our main operation. We're also in India and then Colombia for nearshore. I've been in sales for over 15 years, and I agree with Kelli that sales and marketing really should be treated like a single entity, even though in most organizations it's not. So I think it's going to be a very interesting conversation. I'm, kind of representing the sales point of view of what I see on my side of the aisle.
And there is going to be no finger pointing like there never are in this
Right. No.
this dispute. Rebby, you can please introduce yourself as well. It would be great.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely. So Rebby John, pleasure to meet everyone. I am Vice President of Global Pre-Sales at Salesloft, where I lead our sales engineering, value engineering, and innovation and transformation functions. So Salesloft is a revenue orchestration platform that delivers AI agentic capabilities to both sales and marketing. And so I've had the unique privilege to advise, hundreds of clients that we work with on precisely this problem. How do they unify their sales and marketing teams through technology and through strategy to deliver increased output? So excited for the discussion today and looking forward to a rich conversation.
Sounds good. And what we're trying to do is basically give examples of what works and what doesn't work, so that you don't repeat the same mistakes some of us have made in the past. And Rebby, since you are the last one to introduce yourself, so I'll let you start with that one. So why is there misalignment between sales and marketing? Why are we working in silos?
Yeah, absolutely. Something that we see very, very commonly when we go in to advise a customer on technology and strategy is misalignment that starts right at the top. And that starts right at the top with conflicting KPIs. I'll give you an example of a specific client that we worked with last year, where this larger company, several hundred million in revenue, and their marketing and sales teams worked off of completely different KPIs and goals. And so when the marketing team hit their goal, their pipeline goal, that pipeline wasn't sufficient for sales to actually deliver the revenue results that they needed to the organization and to the board. So there was misalignment right at the top. of what the right goals were to be put into place, and that of course cascaded down all throughout the rest of the organization, right? And again, it certainly wasn't a case of, hey, marketing needs to do more of this and sales needs to do more of that. No finger pointing, but without that executive level alignment, we can't expect the team on the edge and out in the field to stay very aligned, which is where all the work really happens. So in my perspective, misalignment always starts at the top. If you have really strong alignment at the executive level, really strong alignment on goals, KPIs, metrics, etc., then you can generally use that as a forcing function to bring all parties back to the table centered on one common mission. Kind of how Kelli was outlining a unified sales and marketing organization that starts with a unified goal.
That's a great segue, Kelli. If we can get your take on this, that would be awesome.
Yeah, so I agree 100%. I think Rebby has it spot on. I think that it needs to be a maniacal focus on driving revenue. And that is the single goal that we all have at this point in time, is to drive, I always say there are three R's in marketing. There's revenue, there's retention, and there's referral. Referral drives a sale 30% faster than any other. So we want to drive all three. So it's revenue, retention, and referral. It is not just stopping with sales, it's also including the CX organization to create that flywheel. And the only way that you can create that flywheel is to be truly aligned on that first R of revenue. And I think oftentimes sales and marketing departments both get stuck too high up in the funnel. Marketing is focused on an MQL that might not convert to an S1. Top of the funnel sales qualified opportunity. And, and then sales might not be looking at the ACV or the win rates. So you end up with a lot of friction all the way up the funnel. And I think that if you are able to really focus everyone on revenue and build your funnel metrics in a way that you understand, if this changes, and this changes, and this changes, and you're really focused on true deep understanding with a really good RevOps team helping both sides of the funnel, the top and the bottom, I think you're in a good place, but just very few companies are able to do that.
Absolutely. And I also think it's about speaking the same language, right? We might be aligned on a set of metrics, ACV, pipeline, whatever the case may be. But if everybody looks at those metrics slightly differently in different reports without a common shared language on what a sales accepted lead means and what an MQL means, then obviously even if you're aligned conceptually, in practice, you won't be. I think that's a great point.
That's right. Semantics matters a lot.
A lot.
At that level for sure. Geno, actually, what is your take on this? Is there anything that Kelli or Rebby have not said or have said that you want to piggyback on, or is there any other angle that you would want to highlight on your end?
Sure. Yeah, so I think great feedback from both Rebby and Kelli. I'll take it one level up from the KPI conversation and talk about executive leadership creating a safe environment to provide feedback. So, another thing I've seen that creates rifts between marketing and sales is playing the blame game. So who's at fault because we're not generating the revenue we want to generate? And I think that goes back to executive leadership setting the expectation of being open and honest feedback on what's working and what's not working, and not necessarily looking for who the scapegoat is or who's at fault, but just taking that honest feedback and making it actionable to get better as a team. So I've been in both situations where the open and honest feedback is encouraged, and I've also been in situations where we all have a tendency to get defensive if it's something that we came up with. Nobody wants to have their baby called ugly. And then that environment, unfortunately, can create a situation where it's not safe to provide honest feedback. And then both teams are losing out because of that. I think the other thing is just the self-awareness piece of being aware that, sometimes when it's our idea that we've come up with, being able to take a step back and being self-aware, being critical of, maybe what are the things that maybe your team came up with or your side of the came up with that maybe is not working as well as it should be, and being open to the feedback from the other side. So in my case, it would be being open to the feedback from marketing, but on the marketing side, it'd be being open from the feedback from the sales organization.
Makes sense. Appreciate that. I mean, the sales team that is always accountable, supposedly always accountable, saying that they are going to take criticism. It's very refreshing. I like to hear that.
Yes.
Not extremely not easy because you are really on the first line most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, sales is really your boots on the ground for marketing. They're getting real-time feedback every day on the marketing campaigns. And, so like getting those two teams to work closer together can really help optimize things.
100%.
One of the advantages I think of just being in a sales or marketing role, it's one of those roles in those organizations where accountability is not very difficult, right? Like there are numbers,
Mhm.
there are leaderboards, right? There are hard metrics that it's easy to align an organization around. There are other types of organizations and departments where success can be a little bit more subjective. Whereas in marketing and sales, success is very, very objective. And so that actually gives us a great opportunity to lean into accountability just by virtue of, what we're trying to solve for the business.
It's true. And I can attest to this, and then I'll let Kelly speak a little more about this. I love to tell my team that we are teams marketing.
Yeah.
Um,
Love
you
that.
you 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 cannot. It's all about what we talked about earlier, culture.
Yeah.
Sure, we have to have the same KPIs, but we all have to aim for the same goals, and we have to agree on what those goals are. When you have leading KPIs, which are leads and MQLs, that trumps the actual KPIs, are leading indicators. I shouldn't call them KPIs, but leading indicators that tells you whether or not you are going to reach those KPIs. This is where you are going to be able to perform better. So your KPI should be S1, S2, and specific conversion rates that you're expecting everyone to meet. Right, Kelly? I mean, if you can say a little more on that, that would be great, because this is what you
Absolutely.
highlighted with revenue.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's important to take a step back and to say it's not just sales and marketing that drive into the funnel. So I have a colleague that calls them the four horsemen and says, you have inbound, so inbound is marketing and SDR, you have SDR outbound, you have sales direct, and then you also have partner. For each of them, the funnel metrics are going to be different. So, your conversion rates down the funnel for each of those four horsemen are going to be slightly nuanced. And in fact, what I've found is that a sales generated lead actually has a higher win rate because there's more skin in the game for the sales team. They've brought that lead in. So it's also understanding, how each of your leads comes into the top of the funnel, and then what it takes working alongside the sales organization to bring it all the way down the funnel. Because I think one thing that happens is that marketing over focuses on the top of the funnel, but what we don't realize is that it's all about our product marketing organizations to drive down through the funnel and to a close. It's all about customer case studies, testimonials, use cases, true proof value of what it is that we're helping customers to solve. I mean, at the end of the day, we might be focused on revenue, but the only way we get revenue is by solving real world customer problems and by being truly customer obsessed. So if we are trying to do that, then our product marketing organizations need to lean in. They need to listen to the sales team. They need to understand the customer pain points, and they need to help the sales team to deliver the value that the customers are looking for in order to close them. So, yeah, I threw out a lot there, but, it's not just our two teams. It's, there's four different horsemen there. And marketing, over focus on the top of the funnel means that we miss the bottom of the funnel, which is where our product marketing organizations need to lean in the most. And, product marketing isn't about driving top of the funnel anymore. Our content teams can do that. Product marketing is about assisting sales in the close.
Yeah, I like one of the things you said, Kelly, about voice of customers and case studies.
Yeah.
I keep telling my team, no one believes me.
No, they
They
don't want
will
to hear from
believe,
us.
yeah, they will believe the customers, their peers that
Yeah.
have used the tool, and Gong did that in a fabulous way. They had raving fans talking to their colleagues and friends about what they could do. So, Geno, on your end, you know, Kelly gave a lot of things that should speak to a sales leader like you. But when you talk about grid alignment from your marketing with your marketing team, what does it look like to you specifically?
Yeah, so I think to me, great alignment starts with relationships between the marketing team leadership and the sales team leadership, and just having those open lines of communication um, really is what makes the difference. I think downstream from building the relationships, and the relationship building has to be intentional. Like any relationship, whether it's a friendship, a marriage, a work relationship, it takes effort, and you have to put time into it. You get out of the relationship what you put into it. But downstream from that is putting some guardrails around it. So setting up regular meetings between the teams to provide feedback on the campaigns, setting KPIs, making sure, like we are discussing earlier, that the KPIs are the proper KPIs. One thing I've seen, and it's usually unintentional, but setting the wrong KPIs can drive unintentional behaviors that you really didn't consider when you set the KPIs. And so monitoring the KPIs to make sure they're driving the behaviors that you want from both teams. So that's what great alignment to me looks like.
Thanks, Geno. What about Rebby? What do you have to add on this, especially around KPIs?
Yeah, for
Based on
sure.
your
Well,
experience.
maybe a couple of things actually. I like what Kelli emphasized around, solving customer problems and showing other customers how we do that. At the end of the day, my boss or CRO has this saying that he uses with our organization, which is that, revenue is not a job. Sales is not a job. Marketing to get sales is not a job. The job is solving customer problems. And the revenue that we create is a measurement of how good we are at solving that job. And so at doing that job. And so if we use, the customer's problem, creating real tangible value for customers as a North Star, then we can often align our sales and marketing teams better, right? Leveraging that as the North Star.
Sounds good. And we have a poll here, so if you can all participate to that poll, we cannot, but if all of our listeners here can answer this alignment question, please go ahead and answer this, and we'll keep going on our end around some. There's what we talked about KPIs a lot, but are there two or three KPIs? And Rebby, I'll highlight you again. Two or
Yeah.
three KPIs that you would really recommend
Yeah.
teams to focus
Yeah,
specifically.
absolutely. The first one that I would recommend focusing on is, the team has to know pipeline and pipeline coverage requirements like the back of their hand at the end of the day. We start with a plan, the certain plan that the business has to achieve, from an EBITDA perspective, and, new revenue comprises a portion of that. And in order to book that new revenue, there's a certain pipeline coverage requirement that is needed. And so everyone has to be completely aligned on those pipeline coverage requirements. And especially in a constantly changing macroeconomic environment, if you were impacted by the tariff discussions that are ongoing, or the closure of the ZERP environment 2 or 3 years ago, right? There are the pipeline coverage required to get to your commit is going to be constantly changing and constantly in flux. So that's the number one thing, is that the teams have to be aligned on what pipeline coverage is required to hit the quarter, and what contribution level is expected, from each team. Right? At Salesloft, we expect our own, teams to be able to, our own, account executive and sales teams to be able to generate a really substantial portion of that. We also expect a certain level of contribution from demand gen programs and marketing programs that happen, and that set of metrics at the outset, needs to be really, really closely monitored. The other set of metrics that I would kind of think through, and I'll give less of a specific hard metric, but more of a concept, is around activation. We think of it as the technology that you use to align sales and marketing should really be your business operating system, if you will, because marketing defines the strategy, defines how we're going to get to market, who we need to talk to, how we're going to talk to them. The sales team takes that strategy and then activates it in the way that they interact with their customers, in the way that they prospect, in the way that they manage and close pipeline. And then, the customer success team then takes all of those customers and uses that content as well that marketing may have developed to grow and develop those customers. And so ensuring that at each step of the way, the activation is actually happening, whether it's a new campaign that marketing has launched or a new ICP that we're targeting, that the activation is then happening in sales and happening in the customer team, et cetera, is really key. And there's a lot of different ways, to measure that, and that will largely be really unique and specific to the business. But that's a key indicator of whether the teams are truly in alignment when they actually go out to the field and speak with customers.
Sounds good. Kelli, I would like you to follow up on this. I heard a couple of things that Rebby said, on especially activation. I usually see it being driven by sales, more so than marketing on my end. So I would like you to speak a little bit to that, if you don't mind.
Well, so one thing that Rebby said that just, so in talking about pipeline coverage, so of course that's my obsession. So I'm always, focused on what my pipeline coverage is. But here is where relationship comes in and is so incredibly important. If you have a very tight relationship with your sales organization, and your sales organization comes to you and says, I need you to increase pipeline coverage because we have 2 new reps and they're not up to speed and our close rate is lower this quarter. That is what is the most important, is that single conversation of being able to have trade-offs. And for a sales leader to be able to come to marketing and say, I need you to lean in, I need $500,000 more in coverage for this quarter. Or for a marketing leader to be able to do the exact same thing and say, we're launching new campaigns. We are not going to give you the coverage that you need this quarter. Is there a way that we can pull deals forward from the following quarter so that we are going to hit our goals, but we're going to hit them in a different way, and then we're going to get you coverage for the quarters following. It is a dance. And it is not a perfect dance. We cannot always have the same win rate. We cannot always have the same coverage rate. So thinking about those 2 things and really working as a symbiotic unit, really, and truly having those really open conversations, that is what is so important here. And when my sales leader and I are having these conversations, and we've had some pretty tough ones over the last 2 years together, where I've had to say, I'm going to hose you this quarter. And you have to be that honest. It's about honesty as well. And you might need to lean into your partners, or you might need to create outbound motions for your SDRs. This is something that you just have to be. It's never perfect. So I just think it's really important. It's not just about, like we said, the KPIs are super important, having pipeline coverage, having this, in the right order, but it's also about the relationship to be able to be honest and say, we're going to have hits and misses across the quarter. And especially in this macroeconomic environment where, things are changing so quickly, we don't even know, from one day to the next, what's going to take place. It's even more important that we have those open lines of communication and that we are just that, in a way, that raw. It's not easy.
That's right. And actually, I like what you said, and Geno alluded to it earlier, is you have to be candid about things. I mean, you have to tell it the way it is. It's true that if you give a number like 7, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Give the context of that number, give the context of that percentage, and help your the executives you are working with understand what that means. But
Correct.
you talked a lot about being honest and giving the right feedback. I'm sure it has happened plenty of times where the marketing team didn't give you what you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
How do you address this, and how do you work with the marketing leader to help them give you what you need and what you want in terms of coverage, in terms of good quality pipeline? Because again, I don't want to talk about lead and MQL. It's all about pipeline that will move forward.
Well, I can answer that. I'm saying it from okay. It's good.
Go ahead. I'll
No.
throw in a couple quick 2 cents, but I agree with Kelli. It's really about giving honest feedback, like brutally honest feedback, and not sugarcoating. But in order to be able to do that, the relationship has to be there. Because if you don't have the relationship and you give the brutally honest feedback, usually things don't go well. The person can take offense to it, and then it ends up being counterproductive. So it's building the relationship up front with that person, so they understand the feedback is being given with good intentions, and the person doesn't take it the wrong way. I think is what makes that conversation work. And then from there, once you have the relationship and you have the ability to give that honest feedback, it's just doing it on a regular basis, like not getting so wrapped up in your side of what you're doing to where you're not communicating with the marketing team. Because really, for the sales team to be successful, they have to work hand in hand with marketing and vice versa. Yeah, I think Kelli, you wanted to add something.
Yeah, Kelli,
No,
go ahead.
I mean, honestly, there's nothing I can. I mean, I'm coming from a marketing perspective, and there are moments where I've provided the wrong things to the top of the funnel. We've had a product market fit issue, which might have stemmed from founder-led syndrome or product potentially. I mean, there's a lot of other players that are in here as well. So oftentimes, if you have a product market fit issue and marketing is trying to drive, we're not going to find that right mix. So it's also being honest with the rest of the organization around you, and not just thinking that this is sales and marketing. Product has a lot to play here. Engineering has a lot to play here. Customer success has a lot to play here. So it's also extending the conversation and having this extended, honest conversation far further than just a sales and marketing conversation, which we might not be able to solve the issues. I mean, we've all worked in a company where the product just isn't hitting. And that's a painful place to be. And there's very little that sales and marketing can do about it. So it's also extending that conversation well outside of just sales and marketing.
It's true, Rebby. Actually, yeah. To you, I wanted to ask specifically. There is something that I always tell everyone: is don't bring an opinion to a data fight, because the market will tell you whether or not you're right.
Yeah.
And like Geno was saying earlier, is sometimes you are coming out with something. I believe it's you that said that, Geno, and you believe you have the answer to it, and it doesn't pan out. It doesn't work out. So pre-sales, I would say, would probably could at times help out with that. Marketing thinks it's this. Sales might believe it's that.
Totally. Yeah.
What is your take on this one?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And got some great context I could share with some things that are working really well at Salesloft as well. One of the things that's kind of unique about the pre-sales organization is because just due to the kind of content that we create, as well as the customers that we speak to, is we get to play a unique role in between three really important organizations: sales, marketing, and product, and where we just through the conversations that we have are able to amass a lot of tribal knowledge on what's working, whether there's product market fit, what strategic directional changes need to be made, et cetera. And so at Salesloft, the pre-sales team runs a monthly rhythm with our product and product marketing functions and our revenue functions to bring the voice of customer together to help define strategic shifts in ICP or how we talk about ourselves to the market or things of that nature, because we have all of this all this knowledge from customer conversations, and so we're really fortunate to do that. Another thing that I'm seeing in the industry that we're doing at Salesloft as well is in how we're truly working as one combined team out on the edge when talking to customers. I think, Kelli, you might have mentioned that you see product marketing continue to evolve into more of a down the funnel function that assists in customers and in customer conversations. And that's exactly what we do here at Salesloft as well, where we have product marketing teams that are joining in the field live with customers, helping to define and helping to solve a customer problem and define a deployment roadmap for a specific customer, which does lots of good things for us. One, it gives a customer the best possible solution, and solves the biggest problem for them that we possibly could have. But then secondly, it also gives product marketing a lot of really useful takeaways from a live customer conversation, being really close to the customer that can then be used in production of any assets or campaigns or things that then follow through. And so there are some tactical things from an org structure perspective as well that you can do to bring these teams closer together and ensure that everyone's working well together in the field and out on the edge.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Get on this one as well. Is anything that you would want to add to this?
Repeat the question one more time where we started, because we kind of.
Well, it was more at the beginning. The angle of we have to be candid with one another. Then we have to have the same goals. But sometimes whatever we put up front didn't work out, and the market is giving you an answer that you didn't expect. And
That's right. Yeah.
I was telling Rebby, well, maybe you are going to be the equalizer on this one. Sales and marketing probably missed the mark. You on the pre-sale side of things, you might have an angle that the market is telling us that we didn't see ahead of time, and you can course correct, so to speak. So, have you seen this happening on your end?
Yeah. So I do see that. I think, both sales and marketing go into any campaign with their own biases of what, we think is going to work, what we think is not going to work. And you have to be open to the actual market and what the data is telling you, and adjust real time. And, in my experience, you don't ever really know if a marketing person, for example, tells you, hey, for sure this is going to work. That's not true. It's you never really know until you try it and A/B test it. And it's a constant involvement and a constant adjustment. And even, something we were doing last year that was working really, really well, this year maybe losing steam and it's no longer working, and we have to figure out a new direction with how sales and marketing is approaching it.
And I would say last year now is last quarter or last month.
Yeah.
So
Even like last month sometimes. Yeah, absolutely.
it's getting even more challenging than it ever was. Now, I'll go back to Kelli and ask you is what are specific campaigns that examples of things that have worked out very, very well for you? Collaborating sales and marketing and I shouldn't say sales and marketing, it's go-to-market teams collaboration really when it comes to this. So what works? What have you seen is working currently?
Right now, and I think it's gonna be no surprise that I'm gonna say this, it's elevating customer voices to tell our stories for us. Customers do not want to hear from us, no matter how impressive we think we are. We are not sitting in their seats. We don't feel their pain every day, and we don't actually know what it is that that they need. They want to hear from each other. And so taking the voices of your customers and their successes at the use case level, at the industry level, at the persona level, and actually really elevating those voices to be able to drive into top of the funnel is what we've seen work best. It's creating customer evangelists that are willing to go out and scream from the top of any stage that you are the company that they should work with because you will get the results that they're getting, and actually having tangible results that you can put into the campaigns. So customer voices with tangible results and get granular. Go to the use case and go to the industry where you're getting these results. The more specific that you can be as a marketer, and like I said, that's not just at the persona level. That is at the use case and industry and ROI level. The more specific you can get, the better off that you're going to be at the top of the funnel in order to drive the right quality into a sales qualified opportunity. You're going to get there much faster than going out and having just doing very generic campaigns. So that's what we're seeing is working best. If you do not have customers, making sure that you're leading with use case industry, making sure that you're leading with ROI, and then making sure that you're not just leaving it at the SQO, but you're following all the way down the funnel. A campaign goes all the way through. In fact, true ABM goes all the way through to creating a raving fan. So if you think of account-based marketing, it should be your flywheel. And if it's not your flywheel and it's only a revenue wheel, you've actually missed the most important part, which is creating that raving fan that will refer other customers.
Sounds good. One of the things that you said that always resonates with me and probably with Geno and Rebby is you have to quantify it. You have to get the ROI, but it's really hard to get the ROI. Sometimes they just don't know. Yeah, we're doing better, and they don't know how to quantify it. Do you have any specific tools or tactics that you're using to get these ROIs?
Because of the way that our product functions as a contract intelligence platform, we're able to identify, how many additional opportunities, what is the risk that we helped you to overcome, and then how did we help you manage your obligations? So the current product that I'm working on, it's very easy to show the ROI, and the ROI is absolutely extraordinary. So it's, in this case, it's very simple to show the ROI very quickly. And I have customers that are really willing to tell their stories because they've seen such incredible results. Other products, it's not the case. And there, it's like pulling teeth. So, when you have a product that's not extraordinary and you're pulling teeth to try to, A, find the customer story, B, try to find the ROI, it's much more difficult there, and you have to get creative. There's no reason that you shouldn't create, kind of vanilla use cases that help people to at least understand the context of what you're bringing to them. There's no reason that you wouldn't share, you wouldn't run demos to be able to show the value if you don't have a value, calculator to be able to do that with. But, any kind of ROI tool, any kind of demo tool, people they don't want to buy what they can't see. They want real world demos. They want real world, ROI calculators. They want real world stories from customers that sit in their seat. Without those things, I think today it's going to get harder and harder to sell. And I think that we owe it to our sales organizations to be able to help find that. Now, I can't find a customer without a salesperson being involved. So once again, there's the marriage. It has to be there, and the trust has to be there. My team needs to surface customers that they know are going to provide me a customer reference, because then I'm going to feed them back into the top of the funnel.
Totally makes sense. I mean, we all agree voice of customers, ROI tool, calculators will help you greatly. What other, assist have you gotten from maybe marketing teams that you didn't expect would work out? Or what have you asked of the marketing team to do for you that we might not be inclined to do as often as we should?
Well, I think Kelli mostly nailed it. Or that the biggest things that help sales is your social proof. So client testimonials, because like she said, I could, tell them how great we are until I'm blue in the face, but I'm a salesperson, so they don't necessarily trust me. They want to hear it from a client of ours, and especially somebody that's in their industry. That's the number one thing I want to see. Two, they want to see case studies. On the sales side and the marketing side, the other thing I can add is you want to get really, really tight on the problem that you're solving. So companies are not buying because of a shiny marketing campaign. They're buying a problem that you're solving. And ultimately, being a good salesperson is explaining to understand the customer what their problem is and explaining to them how you can solve that problem. And marketing can help you tighten up that message.
And I would add to what you're saying, Geno, and I think that we agree on this one, is we are more helping them to buy more than selling anything.
Right.
We help them make the right decision for the problem they're trying to solve more than anything else.
Exactly. Yeah. If you're good at what you do on the sales side, you're really consulting. You're not really selling.
Sounds good. And Rebby, what is the angle that you would say on this? I'll go back to the original question around real life examples of marketing and sales working together. What is a program? What has worked? What would you recommend? The one thing that you can do together, whether it's an ABM campaign or specific sync that you would implement regularly.
Yeah, one thing that has worked goes back to what Geno was saying around social proof. Marketing and sales working together to highlight customer stories. But the way that we do that is actually, I think historically it's been, a generally very highly produced, a lot of time, et cetera, goes into the development of certain, a case study or whatever the case may be. But, for us at Salesloft, a lot of our, target market and target clientele is on LinkedIn. And so LinkedIn has really, quickly grown as like a really powerful channel for us. And the type of content that works really well on LinkedIn is actually not the branded, high production value content, but it's actually much more so the really lo-fi, like screen share recordings, just like this one, or detailed descriptions of how somebody's using a product. And so we have our marketing and our sales teams working together on campaigns that highlight in a lo-fi way how customers are using Salesloft. And then we, launch that through, I think we use Disseminate as a tool that we use to actually get everyone in the company rallying around that particular use case or that particular story, sharing it on LinkedIn. And then that results in a ton of impressions being sent to that content. And so that's been a strategy that has really, really worked for us. Is, I think there's a little bit of a banner blindness, if you will, when someone's scrolling LinkedIn or other technology and they see a really highly produced thing with a pretty logo on it and all of that. They instead want to see, hey, how is John Doe, Jane Doe using this technology or using this product to create value?
So I emphasize that with our team as well, is don't talk about the product, show it.
Yeah,
Wherever you can show the product, do it. Do it again. And if you can do it with a customer, even better.
exactly.
Clearly will have a lot more impact than anything else. I'll switch a little bit right now, and we have to talk about AI, because of course we have to talk about AI. I would love, and I will start with you, Geno, on this one, is the impact of AI on alignment, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I mean, tell us what you have seen, and what would you recommend to our audience here?
So the good is a couple things I see. One is analyzing large data sets quickly. I think we've all seen how AI can help with that. And the more information you feed it, the smarter the AI gets. So the more you're using the AI tools, the better analysis it's going to spit back out at you. But the second thing, and I think this is something I've just kind of picked up on recently, is removing the bias. So kind of going back to the brutal honesty piece between the two departments, marketing and sales, and giving each other feedback. A lot of times, let's say I'm giving feedback to Rebby or I'm giving feedback to Kelli. If I don't approach it the right way, it could go wrong where they take offense to my feedback. AI removes that, because now it's an unbiased third-party observer that's providing the feedback. And so what I'm seeing is people are a lot more open to receiving the feedback from an AI source, because now it doesn't feel like there's a personal angle to it. So it's been an interesting concept that I've seen with AI. Now on the bad side, we were talking about this before the webinar kicked off, but you have to be careful with the data, because sometimes AI will make something, it sounds very legitimate, but once you dig into it, it may be leading you in the wrong direction. So making sure you're still having human eyes look over the data to make sure it's accurate and legitimate to what you're trying to accomplish.
Very true. The AI bias is real if you don't give it the right input. That's for sure. I've seen it a few times. Rebby, what on your end, what have you seen the impact that it has had on alignment, or the lack of impact on alignment?
I think it's had a really positive impact in alignment for us. I think in two ways. The first is that AI allows each person, so like each individual, employee of a company, to do more than they previously did. So AI should, in theory, help every employee to be more of a generalist with a T-shaped skill set. Like, sure, yeah, absolutely, I might be, a pre-sales person first, and sales engineering is my background. That's where I have a lot of mastery of my skill set. But now with AI, I can also be, a pseudo product marketer and develop a case study with an interview, and take an interview and run it through an AI tool. And I can also be, a pseudo salesperson and crafting the right follow-ups and preparing for a sales conversation the right way. And so it just allows the team to do more. Instead of looking like this, everybody's work can look a little bit like this, and it brings everybody's work together is a first part. And then the second part that we see with our customers, because we offer both sales and marketing, AI agents, is that, in the co-design of an agent, that actually does tasks for the business, we can bring sales and marketing together. Whereas previously, you only had automation. And what's automation? It's very rigid logic that, follows a kind of predefined set of business rules, versus an agent is more of an intelligent, context-aware program that can autonomously complete tasks for the business. And if sales and marketing is both involved in the design of what an agent does, whether it's a pipeline agent or prospecting agent or a case study agent or whatever the case may be, then those teams can come together in designing the high level strategy, and then AI can actually deliver the output at a much faster rate than any individual human could.
Thanks, Rebby. That's true. I've seen that too. And Kelly, I mean, I'll throw you a curveball on this one because
Yeah,
I am on the receiving end of this at times. Is you can do everything faster now.
correct.
Everyone used to be an expert marketer. Now they really are expert marketers because they are doing it with ChatGPT and ChatGPT knows. So, I'm sure that there are some things that are very, very positive, but there are also a few heartaches that you are dealing with some of the input that you are getting from the various teams. Yeah.
I haven't experienced that. I'm going to
Oh,
be
this is
honest.
great.
So I mean, and perhaps that's because I've really worked to build partnerships with my sales organization, my pre-sales organization, et cetera. But at the end of the day, I I'm the biggest user of chat, of Claude, of Gemini, et cetera, et cetera. At the same time, I can read an email and know in 2 seconds flat if it's ChatGPT. I can look at a LinkedIn profile and know, or a LinkedIn, message and know in 2 seconds flat if it's GPT. And I think there are a lot of us that actually, the second we see it's GPT, the second we see an M dash, we just disregard it. So AI is very, very, very amazing for driving extraordinary, efficiencies across a business. But you have to be very careful with personalizing it and making sure that you're not leaning forward with AI, you're leaning forward with a human-centric, customer-obsessed, really true voice of your company, and that you're leveraging AI to provide the data-driven insights and potentially the efficiencies that you need. I do think there's an inherent danger to how many of us have gotten an email that says dear and username here or whatever it is, or dear and whoever they're trying to target. Same thing on LinkedIn. There's an inherent danger in being lazy and allowing AI to do your job. And I think that people that are crossing over have the tendency to do a little more lean into letting AI do it. And that's not the right move. So, the one thing I will say, I think it's great that we're all blurring lines and we are all now going to be marketing and sales experts, et cetera. But I think that we also have to be very clear that we know our audience best. We actually know their pain points. We understand their emotions. And ChatGPT, no matter how good, or Gemini or Claude or any of the others, still aren't quite there. So I'm going to go back to what Rebby said at the beginning. Your job right now is not going to be taken by AI. Your job is going to be taken by someone who uses AI extraordinarily well. And I tell my marketing teams that every day, and I absolutely insist that everyone uses AI because I want them to be more efficient, but I don't want AI to do their work.
And you said something, I mean, the keyword is emotion. I mean,
Correct.
we're human beings who are driven by emotion, and yeah, AI is not going to capture that. I don't know how they'll capture that ever. I don't think they ever will, but could be wrong.
Yeah.
I could be wrong on this one. Do you have any specific tools that you would recommend actually the audience to use? I'll start with you, Rebby. When it comes to AI, what have you seen has worked pretty well for your team?
Yeah, well, obviously, my answer is always going to be Salesloft as the representative of the company. But setting that aside, I think the number one thing is for the entire company really to be using the same platform. And so, Salesloft is a Google partner, so we've got all in on Gemini. And so what that does for us is we have a Slack channel for ourselves at the company where all different types of folks across different roles are creating gems that they're sharing with other individuals across the company. And because everyone's on the same technology and on the same tech, they can all take advantage of the same use cases, but applied to a variety of different roles and departments. So I'd say that first of all, there are always also, for every specific department, every specific function or use case, there's also a lot of, kind of ankle biter, tech out there. What we're finding is that, a lot of the, if you want to move quickly with purpose-built technology, you have to go with one of those. And then if you want to, build long term, then it's important to find, something that you're going to build the backbone of your go-to-market, strategy around. So that's what we see and what our clients are seeing as well.
That makes sense. For those who are not familiar with Gemini, the gems are the equivalent of the custom GPT that you would have on ChatGPT. And what have you seen on your end with AI? What are the tools that you would recommend to the audience?
Well, so Cloudstaff has really gone all in on AI, and we're trying to incorporate it into basically every part of what we do. So we've hired a chief AI officer, and we have some internal tools that we're building out that we have access to and our clients have access to. And a lot of it is built around data security and just not making everything public that, one of our clients may not want to be public. But for the tools that we're all familiar with, I would say outside of the internal tools we're using, ChatGPT is my number one go-to right now. I use it probably daily for all kinds of different tasks. And I mean, I would say on almost a daily basis, I'm discovering new uses that I hadn't thought of before. So definitely seeing the things that Rebby and Kelli are mentioning, and the increase in efficiency is just unbelievable.
And Kelly, on your end, then.
So a lot of the tools that we use already have implemented or have purchased, different types of AI technology. So, making sure that you're leaning heavily into the companies that you already have partnerships with, where I work for a large company, so going through procurement can be very difficult. Making sure that you're working on the same platform as the rest of your company. I couldn't agree more with Rebby. We are a Gemini company. We all use Gemini. I also use other outside GPTs and different things like that for personal stuff. And I highly recommend that if you're not using AI at work, use it to automate your life, because that can free up a lot of time. I have travel GPTs. I have kids going to college GPTs, you name it, on my personal life. I have every single thing. And I'll tell you, my travel itineraries are better than anyone else's. So just lean in. I mean, there's no reason not to use the tools that your companies are setting up for you. You want to stay within your firewalls and stay within the security that your company is allowing you to. And, just make sure that you are leveraging it every single day to facilitate whether or not it's helping you get started on an email, or, or formatting an Excel spreadsheet. There is absolutely no reason. I did a big comp intelligence analysis on Friday, and I found myself in 6 spreadsheets. I took the 6 spreadsheets, threw them into Gemini, and I had one spreadsheet in the exact order that I wanted it to. I was able to then prompt it 4 different times to clean it up even further. I exported it and I had my job done. It would have been my whole weekend to do what I did. And instead, in probably 3 hours, I was able to do the entire project. Lean in and just use it, and don't be afraid to try.
Yeah, but you said also something that is important is there is data that you don't want to put on the public tool. So you have to be very, very careful of what you can share and not share. There is another tool that I highly recommend that I've used. It's Julius.ai. It's actually an AI data analytics tool where you can do all sorts of visualization without using Python and so
That's
on.
great.
That is absolutely fabulous. Um, I have lost almost all my hair learning Python, and Julius came around a few months ago.
And now you don't have to lose any more.
I don't have to lose any more of it. Well, it's this boat has sailed already on that one, but
It's too late for me, unfortunately, Johan.
it's all right. We understand each other. Um, but I would say, I would reemphasize AI, and there is actually there is a question here around because we have to go to the Q&A. Yes, we have to answer some of the questions the audience has. Is what advice do you have for teams evaluating AI tools to ensure both sales and marketing are seeing the same insights and taking coordinated action? So I'll let you answer this, but know that the AI tool give you answer based on your own profile.
Correct.
Unless you have a tool that the whole team is using. But even in that case, they are taking your input as an individual for the answer. So yeah, alignment is not that easy, but so Geno is for teams evaluating AI. to make sure that they have the same insights? What recommendation would you give?
My recommendation would be to make sure that the key stakeholders on both sides are using the tool and providing feedback. So setting up a feedback loop between the two departments to make sure that they're aligned and they're seeing, like the question says, they're seeing the same actionable items from the AI.
Great. Rebby, what would you say on that one?
Yeah, the insights are going to be driven by the data that's fed into the tool. And so in short, you need to make sure that the data set that is being fed into the tool is the exact same data set. And there are ways to enrich the data set both with data that would come in for marketing, so maybe some top of funnel data, website engagement data, things of that nature, as well as the kind of data that sales is going to be getting from their interactions with customers, screen share conversations like this one, phone calls, emails exchanged. It's important to have the widest aperture of data that's possible, that's also compliant with security and privacy policies, the widest aperture for that data, but then also the same data set that both sales and marketing teams are looking at.
And I also agree. I would piggyback on what you said earlier, Rebby, is I agree on the definition for things. So, I mean, I'm using a lot more of the summary tools that are offered to us right now. But if you don't use the same nomenclature, apples and oranges, it becomes really, really, you will be misaligned if you don't agree on the nomenclature to use. So, templates. And I've also seen that you have to teach your team how to prompt.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't know how to prompt. You have to tell the tool, what is it going to behave as? Are you a salesperson? Are you a marketing person? Are you a product marketing expert? Are you a copywriter? And what do you refine also the aperture some? It's like you are not a copywriter. You're a copywriter for the B2B space in that specific industry. And you'll see that the output is going to be a lot better. Kelli, there is another question from the audience around operationalizing the shared KPIs, so specific shared dashboards and comp plans that you have put in place. So I'll start with Kelli. I'll go back to Rebby, and I'll end with Geno on this one.
Yeah. So we're a big Evisort was a big Sigma house. Right now we're on Tableau, and then we're actually at Workday moving toward Sigma as well. So we use Sigma dashboards to manage everything. They are a shared dashboard. Why? Because marketing's first KPI that we're measured against is actually a sales qualified opportunity. So if marketing is, if 50% of our goal is at the sales qualified opportunity, i.e., we're looking at consistently providing the right level of pipeline coverage to our sales teams. And remember, pipeline coverage changes depending on the product that you're working on, depending on the tenure of your sales team, et cetera. So you have to be able to have those conversations once again that are super honest. What is the ACV? What is the win rate? What do we need to do to drive pipeline coverage and the right levels of pipeline coverage? And then how do we measure this to ensure that we're staying on track? How do we measure to understand if ACV goes down, we have to increase pipeline coverage? Or if ACV goes up, we might be able to decrease for this quarter, but we want to increase for the following 2 quarters. So once again, it is all about having a shared dashboard, knowing your KPIs, and then being consistent on measurement and having those really deep meetings where you're doing the trade-offs and you're going to be talking through things, because your plan is your plan for one day. The next day it will change, and you should expect it to change every day, because the market is changing that quickly. Maybe not every day, but every month. The market is changing that quickly. So just make sure that you're going to be willing to have those conversations, that you're not going to dig your feet into the ground and say, no, this is the plan, we're going to stick to it. That just doesn't work, not in this macroeconomic environment. And most certainly not since, not in this with tariffs and all the turbulence in the marketplace.
Indeed. Rebby, I mean, anything to add to what Kelli
The
just
only
said?
The only other dimension that I would add is, one way to operationalize the KPIs is through your company's goal setting infrastructure. And so at Salesloft, we use OKRs. And so we'll set OKRs, at the CEO level, and, we'll set them down at the department level, all the way down to the individual employee. And so those OKRs, again, the same metrics, the same tactics, the same, objectives and key results will help to align the teams around a single set of KPIs and how they're actually going to put those KPIs into practice.
I second that. Genov, Measure What Matters. Actually, a great book for everyone on this. I mean, actually, we are almost on time right now, so I'll let you finish. I mean, it fits that the salesperson will have the closing argument on that one. So, tell us on this one, alignment and the KPIs or the alignments, the dashboard that you want to see everyone shoot for and work towards.
Yeah, so what I've seen is once you agree on the KPIs and the dashboards, it's actually using them. So for example, I've seen many times where a dashboard's created, and when you then look at usage of that dashboard, nobody's using it. There's no views. So it's easy to come up with an alignment plan and then almost immediately fall off track and not discuss the KPIs and the dashboards and the metrics that you agree to. So once you come up with the plan, is the most important part is executing and sticking to that plan.
Totally. And I'll conclude this. I mean, we are a minute over, so I'll say voice of customers, we all agree. Alignment is all about cultural alignment, not only agreeing on the numbers, but being candid with one another. Use the same tools, agree on what tools you're going to use, and OKRs are going to help you actually on these alignments greatly. I've done it in 2 or 3 of the companies I was with, and it works out very, very well. So I would like to thank you, Kelli, Geno, and Rebby for sharing your expertise with everyone, and we'll see you again probably on another panel very soon. I hope so, at least.
Johan, thank you.
Absolutely.
So much.
Pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you all, and thank you for joining us today.